Jim Rowan, how you going? It is the 12th of June, the night of the 12th of June. It's close to turning into the 13th on a cold winter's night. Cold by my part of the world's standards anyway. And it has been a while since I've talked about the current state of New Japan. We've been on a bit of a roll with the historical podcast, and I've been really enjoying going through all of that. We got to the end of 2007, so I suppose as good a time as any for a break from the past and to leap back into the present day. Although the last time I talked about the present day of New Japan, it was back at the beginning of May for Dontaku, where on the second night, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship was defended by Will Ospreay against Shingo Takagi. And this one will pick up from there. So, well, actually, you know what? I mean, it's a primarily New Japan podcast, but perhaps I should apologize in advance. It is a Saturday night, and I have decided, excuse me, to have a few beers. And by a few, I do mean 3, but they're pretty strong beers. They're for those interested. I won't spend too much time on this because of the, I don't know, half dozen people that listen to this. Probably 0 are interested, but Source Brewing, 9% stout by them, rich, silky smooth pastry stout with an abundance of chocolate and pecan. So I've been enjoying those. I'm still nursing the third of which, but I sincerely hope no slurring or anything of that kind comes along in this broadcast. But It's a sipper, I'll tell you that. It's very tasty. Source Brewing from south of me, Marrickville, I believe, in New South Wales. Where does it say it here? Yeah, Marrickville. So, good on them. Enjoy what they do. Perhaps a little too much. But let's get into the wrestling. We begin with the 13th of May, AEW Dynamite. And the reason we're talking about Dynamite is because the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship was on the line. Jon Moxley wrestling, defending against Yuji Nagata, who quite a prominent figure in the historical podcast series I've been doing in 2007. Here he's a little on in age, but it was a decent match. What I really liked about it, apparently this is the first time that Jon Moxley came out to Wild Thing by the Trogs, I believe. An entrance I know, and perhaps the reason it is Jon Moxley's music here. The Onita, Onita come out to it, but there's that classic Tokyo Dome entrance from Onita when he faced another figure we've been talking about in 2007, whose name has slipped my mind. I see his face. He is one of the 3 Musketeers, Chono, who had a pretty cool entrance himself that evening. But Jon Moxley comes out to Wild Things, so that's pretty cool. enters through the crowd with Eddie Kingston by his side. Commentary by JR, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur. They make the announcement that it'll be contested under IWGP rules. And Rocky Romero was in the crowd to cheer on Nagata. Bit of brawling around the ring to begin with. The fight gets back in the ring. Nagata's a bit slow, given his age, but, some kicks and exploder, his usual stuff. He's in control of a fair amount of the match. He begins working the arm. Moxley comes back in a striking... Oh, gosh, here we go. Bear with me. I'm doing this early because I would usually do this tomorrow morning, but there's a big UFC on tomorrow, which I am traveling to go see with friends. So I didn't want to have to wake up any earlier than I had to, in order to bring to you the latest from New Japan. So please bear with me. So, Moxley, I don't know if it was from that striking exchange, but he catches a cut on his cheek as they're throwing. He takes a Death Rider, which I believe is called something different in AEW. It slips my mind now. Paradigm Shift, I think he calls it in AEW, but on this occasion it has to be the Death Rider, given it's under IWGP rules. Moxley wins the match. Pretty simple match, but it was decent. It was pretty good. And Moxley's very respectful after the bout. You can tell that was something that perhaps saying bucket list is too far, but an honor for him to have a match with Nagata. And significant just in that, of course, AEW, there's all this Forbidden Door stuff. Whatever, that's a gimmick. But the first time that a New Japan belt is defended in this new American promotion, so significant in that way. That was on the 13th. On the 15th, we were supposed to have a Yokohama Stadium show, New Japan Wrestle Grand Slam, but that was unfortunately cancelled. And then 5 days after that, we had the news of Will Ospreay vacating the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, the second champion to hold this title belt, and he's giving it up. Reason provided by New Japan officially was there was a neck injury, and I don't know what the real story is. There was a lot of rumors about unrest amongst the talent, particularly the foreign talent in New Japan, that there was this lack of communication over the events coming up. The next one to be on the 23rd, New Japan Road to Wrestle Grand Slam, road to an event that is not happening, because of course it wasn't just the Yokohama Stadium event that was cancelled, it was the Tokyo Dome show that was a week or within a couple of weeks of this event. So it makes sense that, well, it would have made sense for New Japan to just be like, all right, forget it, we're not doing these shows, we'll just forget about the Road 2 shows as well. But for whatever reason, Ospreay decided to go back to the UK. He was either stripped of or relinquished the championship. I guess all that matters in terms of storyline is that it was an injury. He relinquished it. He never lost it. He's gone for now. So to the 23rd rather, the Road to Wrestle Grand Slam in Nagoya. Actually, this one wasn't broadcast. This one, all that's up on New Japan World is the backstage interviews, but we had Yoshihashi defeating Yota Tsuji with a butterfly lock. This is the first of 4 singles matches that Yota Tsuji would have across this little mini tour here. which kind of made you think that, well, maybe Tsuji, I mean, he is clearly the front runner to graduate of the three young lions in Japan, Uemura and Gabriel Kidd being the others. So he goes down to Yoshihashi. No surprise there, though. After the match, Tsuji said that it's an opportunity for him to, well, he's been provided this opportunity with these singles matches to break the status quo. Yoshi just talks about trying to extend his six-man title defense record. There was Master Wato and Tenzan teaming up against Owens and Gato. Wato pinned Gato after the RRP, the spinny stuff off the turnbuckle. And he said Wato said he's grateful to be wrestling considering the world's problems, so I don't know if he's in the minority or the majority in terms of the locker room attitude there. Hiroki Goto and Tomohiro Ishii against Naito and Sanada. Sanada pinning Goto with an O'Connor bridge in that one. That's a couple of cool tag teams there. And after that one, Naito pointed out that Shingo is the LIJ frontrunner. He's the one at the top at the moment as far as Los Ingobernables de Japón is concerned. And then not the main event quite yet. Kota Ibushi and Honma took on Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan. Cobb won with the tour on, you guessed it, Honma. Honma's not happy with that afterwards, and Ibushi blames himself for the loss. But Cobb is looking forward to his singles match with Ibushi. Tanahashi and Taguchi took on Shingo Takagi and Bushi, and Takagi won that one with a Last of the Dragon over Taguchi. I didn't write who it was, but I'm sure it wasn't Tanahashi. Tanahashi afterwards said that it's hard losing the title. He's playing with his stomach again, to do with his weight. He's unhappy with his laziness since defeat. That would be him losing the Never title to Jay White. And he kind of laments the idea that now the world title is available given Ospreay's having to vacate it. And he's not ready. He's just pinching at his stomach. I'm not ready to be world champion, so he's unhappy about that. But moving on to a show that was broadcast on the 24th in Korakuen Hall. And speaking of the reports earlier, there was... one of the reports was that there was going to be a locker room meeting before this show, in particular to address the overseas talent. I don't know what came of that, and I don't know if it's real, but there is an audience in attendance for this. It's not a large audience, but they saw Yujiro defeat Tsuji with the pimp juice. Tsuji worries that he's not making an impact, and Yujiro kind of brushes this off as not even remembering who he just beat. Zack Sabre Jr. and Doki defeated Chase Owens and Gato. Zack he countered a Gato clutch into a rear naked choke, earning a submission over Gato. And Zack speaks a little Spanish, which impresses Doki after this one, and then proposes a heavyweight tournament. Well, he thinks obviously for the world title is what he's referring to. And he doesn't think he's earned his shot, but he'll find a way, tournament or not. Tenzan and Honma took on the Gorillas of Destiny, Tamatonga and Tangaloa, and Honma taps to the crossface from Tangaloa. That's Jado's crossface that he's adopted. And then Ibushi and Wato against Cobb and O'Khan. Wato takes the tour. So he says afterwards, Wato, that he needs to get stronger for people like Cobb. And Ibushi, he says he feels like he's coming back into full strength. Cobb just taps his wrist, says Ibushi's time is almost up. Tanahashi, Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi against Naito, Shingo, and Sanada and Bushi. Yoshi lost this one to the Last of the Dragon. Shingo says in the ring, that was the main event, that if there's a match for a vacant title, then he should be in it. And then backstage, again, Tanahashi slapping his belly some more. Bushi says Shingo always wins lately. He needs to make an impact of his own. He wants to go after Yoshi. Naito's curious how the other LIJ members are feeling about Shingo's success, or if they're jealous like he is. Taichi admits the commentary team... Wait, Taichi? He wasn't in this match. So I don't know if Taichi just came in and spoke, or... Well, he was talking about his, about COVID. Oh, okay, I think Taichi was on commentary. So after the event's over, and the backstage comments are done, they go back to the commentary team. And I think that is when Taichi admitted to the commentary team that he did have COVID. He's fully recovered now. That's why he's not on the card. He experienced symptoms like headaches, dizziness, and a fever, but it wasn't too bad. I don't know if I'll keep going through all these events. I mean, we're a quarter hour in. I'm just going to rush through it here. Let's just get to the point here. So, look, I'll go through the events still. Like the 24th AEW Dark Elevation, we had Ren Narita versus Royce Isaacs, who's a recent addition to the New Japan Strong roster. And Narita wins this one with a double underhook suplex and a bridging pin. And then the other match of note or significance to New Japan was on this AEW show, Rocky Romero against JD Drake. This is a significant weight advantage for Drake, but it works against him for when he goes for a moonsault. Romero craters him up for the pin, and then the wingmen attack Romero. But that was after the bell. But then Trent runs out to save the day, and the Roppongi Vice theme plays as Trent helps Romero up, and they shake hands. Of course, they used to be a tag team, Trent and Rocky in New Japan. And then I think this is there's two more Road to Grand Slam shows on the 25th and the 26th. So Chase Owens beat Yota Tsuji. Zack tapped out Yujiro in a tag match. There was Gorillas picked up a tag win. And then there was another match between the Trios guys, Goto, Ishii, Yoshihashi. They also had Taguchi on their team against Naito, Sonata, Takagi, and Bushi. Taguchi actually kicked out of a pumping bomber, but then there was a Made in Japan that followed, and that pinned him. Ishii and Naito were going blow for blow outside, so they're starting to set up a rivalry between Chaos and LIJ there. And after that match, actually, the Chaos guys kind of said, like, hey, if you're coming after these belts, come get them. And Naito said that, oh no, actually at this point he's still playing coy. He just is more talking again about the team's feelings towards Shingo. If there's some jealousy brewing, he's going to keep his eye on that. But Shingo, of course, is just staying focused on the potential title shot he might come across. The main event on that one was Tanahashi and Ibushi against Cobb and Okan. And Cobb's been doing his own version of the Kamigoye. He calls it the Kobagoye. It does not land, though. Kota saves Tanahashi from that. Nearly takes an eliminator from Khan. But then it's a Kamigoye on Khan that wins the match for Ibushi. That was the main event. So Ibushi takes the mic. He says Cobb's amazing. He's got plenty of advantages, and he wants to face him as soon as possible. And in the backstage comments, just the kind of stuff you'd expect. So on the 26th, the last one, Korakuen Hall again. This one opened with Okada walking out, very nicely dressed. He wants to say something to the 30 odd people in attendance. Terrible attendances for these shows, which is no surprise, really. I mean, why are they putting them on? I mean, Tokyo at this point's in a state of emergency, so, well, in any case, Okada addressed the vacancy, and he admitted backstage that he did have COVID-19, but he's healthy now. He thanks everyone for their support. Tsuji had a match on this one with Shingo Takagi, which, of course, ended in Shingo picking up the win. And the next match was nothing. I guess this one's of note. Zack Sabre Jr. and Doki against the Guerrillas again. And Guerrillas pin Doki. Zack attacks after the match, but he's beat down, and then the Guerrillas call out Taichi, ask him where he is. So obviously that's been, well, not set up. Those guys have been feuding all year, but that tag match is coming for the titles. Ibushi and Honma versus Cobb and Khan, and Cobb, this time he does hit the Kobigoye on Ibushi, and Ibushi sells it like death, but that's not the finish. It's a Tour of the Islands on Honma. So, and Cobb's calling himself the Hatchet again. He used to, like, right when the Empire started, he was calling himself the Hatchet. And, he kind of lost that for a while. He's calling himself it again. The main event of this show was Goto and Yoshihashi against Naito and Sanada, and Naito rolled up Yoshi after a familiar LIJ double team sequence to take the victory. So, after this match, the main event, Bushi comes out. Naito addresses both Bushi and Sanada. He says, Shingo's making them all jealous. So how about we do something with our time? Let's challenge for the 6-man titles. And Sanada, funnily enough, looked a bit unhappy with this idea at first, but then he gives it the thumbs up. Of course, Bushi's in. What's he doing? So it's official. Well, actually, not yet. Naito calls Yoshi out, or back to the ring to make it official. And they all attack Yoshi, still being heels, LIJ. Goto makes a save with the bow staff. They all run off. And then, they basically accept the challenge there. That was leading to the 29th New Japan Wrestle Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome, which was cancelled. And then before the month of May is out, I don't think this AEW show really had anything to do with New Japan, but it was the first wrestling event I've seen with a full audience in over a year. And I didn't really watch the show. I kind of just skipped through it. But the audience was really hot, so that was fun to see. Omega, in the main event, retained the AEW World title. But then moving on to June, and now we're on the road to Dominion. Again, I don't want to go through the matches bit by bit, but Desperado won the opener against... it was a tag match, but he beat Uemura. Despy actually after that one admitted he put on a bit of weight, but he still feels good. Good enough to beat Yo. And then... Tsuji was involved in a later match, and he's still kind of really unsure of what his future is going to be. We had another LIJ versus Chaos match. Chaos got the win this time. Goto pinning Sanada with the cradle. Chaos pretty happy about that one. Takagi was in that match, and afterwards he says he thinks Okada seems... Oh, actually, Okada was in that match as well. Bushi, Sanada, Naito, and Takagi versus Yoshi, Ishii, Goto, and Okada. Shingo thinks Okada seems lively and hopes for more of the same in Osaka. So I guess by this point they have actually announced that it's going to be Shingo versus Okada for the title. I don't remember them Did they announce it that early? Maybe they did. Yeah, no, they have. They did do that because Okada's talking about Shingo not being on his level. He's already thinking about Ospreay's challenge. And then the main event of that one was the aforementioned IWGP Tag Team Championship match. The Guerrillas of Destiny, the champions, taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. And Miho Abe is back for the Taichi entrance. Doki and Jado get sent to the back before the match begins, but Gato runs down later with the brass knucks. Doki's quick to intervene, although he fell off the top rope for his springboard attempt, but then he saved it well enough. He kind of popped up and still took out Gato, and then Jado comes out and Doki launches himself at him. He takes him to the back, leaving just the two tag teams to fight it out. And it is as Zack counters a gun stun into a rear naked choke, and then they work that into a Holy Zack driver to pin Tama, win the match, and Dangerous Tekkers are the new IWGP Tag Team Champions. So Doki runs down to celebrate with them. Kanemaru runs down too. And Zack says afterwards that they're the best tag team in the world, and Taichi says that they're going to beat all of GOD's records. That was on the first. On the second, again, just trying to get through the most important parts here. There was a match with Despy and Yo opposite each other in a tag match, but neither of them... Actually, Yo beats Doki in that match, and with the Stargazer, the rolling calf slicer, and holds onto it unnecessarily after beating Doki, even though Yo's supposed to be a babyface. And as far as heels go, Doki's as babyface as they come. But anyway, another thing the new tag team champions talked about was that they were thinking of facing someone outside of New Japan. Like, they wanted to face all comers. And it was funny because Kevin Kelly was really pushing the idea of this just the next night. Spoilers, nothing was to come of that. But anyway, there's still the Ibushi Cobb stuff going on. And then the main event on this one was the Never Six-Man Tag Team Championship match. Bushi, Sanada, and Naito taking... Oh, actually, hold on. Oh, no, that's my fault here. I've noted this incorrectly. Yeah, so Bushi, Naito, and Sanada taking on Yoshi, Ishii, and Goto for the titles. And... not a bad match by any means, but just whatever. It went over 30 minutes. And it was another butterfly lock that won it on Bushi. So he had to tap out to Yoshihashi and the champions retain. And then backstage, Naito says that the loss sucks, but he needs to try something different. He wants a different kind of challenge, and he's thinking about just tagging with Sanada at going for the tag titles. So that's a brief lead up to the event itself on the 7th. It was on the 6th originally, but they pushed it back a day. New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion. This was in Osaka-jo Hall, and for the first time in a little while, had live English commentary, Kevin Kelly, Rocky Romero, and Chris Charlton. Live from all their own parts of the world, but still live. Hiromu runs out to open the show. He says he'll be back first. He will be back soon, but first it's just about introducing the matches to come. The opener being El Phantasmo, back in Japan, Taiji Ishimori, Yujiro Takahashi, Chase Owens, and Evil against Sho, Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroki Goto, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. They do the obligatory everyone takes turns sequence before Tanahashi sets Ishimori up for Sho. ELP and Ishimori try their best to pin Sho and earns themselves a junior tag shot. Of course, Sho and Yo, the junior champions, tag champions. Ishii gets involved to save his teammate, but Sho that is, but Togo holds him back with the garrote, and that leads to Ishimori taking the opportunity to nail Sho with the Bloody Cross and take the match. So, win over the champions. That puts him in a good spot, ELP and Ishimori. But Evil uses Goto's title belt to smash him in the face, and then he holds up the titles with his boot on Ishii's face. So not only did we just set up the junior tag championship match, potentially, but Evil and then Yujiro and Togo have made their claim at the next trios title shot. After that match, Sho says that he must rectify this loss as a champion. Tanahashi, he's not really involved in anything, but he says no matter what match he's involved in, it's up to him to deliver something purposeful to the audience. He's got no waves to ride at the moment, so he'll just have to make his own. Yujiro's pretty happy that they seemingly very easily reached a title shot, and Evil says that the titles have always belonged to him. Couldn't even win the King of Pro Wrestling title, so don't know what he's so confident about. Next match, Bushi, Sanada, Naito versus Doki, Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. And Naito has Hiromu come off the commentary table to help him into the ring. Taichi and Naito smirk at each other from across the ring. Naito decides to pick the referee's ankle for fun, but Suzuki-gun aren't playing games. They attack aggressively. Zack's ready for the Paradise Lock and the Skull End, but the Euro Clutch is countered into a slick bridging pin that earns Sanada the pinfall, and suddenly the tag champions have their own challenges, just within days of winning it. And just very quickly gets rid of the whole willing to fight against outsiders deal, which was actually kind of exciting. But I mean, look, Naito and Sanada, that's a pretty cool tag team. And when everyone was having a big cry over the Intercontinental title being gone, this is exactly what I was talking about. If there's guys that would usually be up there in the mix of the top titles, the top singles titles, and they need a bit of a cool down or just something else to do, this is perfect. The tag division needs a team like Sanada and Naito. So I think this is working great. You'll have to excuse my little sips in between, I'm sorry. Zack apologizes to his teammates for the loss, but Taichi's pretty calm. He addresses Naito's challenge. He accepts that the effort and the respect is there, but this can't just be some diversion before the Tokyo Dome with Sanada just along for the ride. He wants to see that Sanada and Naito actually want to be a part of this division and are worthy of being champions of the division. So he's not really personally sold on them being the next challengers yet. Doki stays back after that promo to say that he is game for a mask versus mask match with Bushi. And then Sanada and Naito. Well, Sanada comes in and kind of almost shrugs at the idea, like, oh yeah, okay, we can go for the tag titles. I can show Naito how fun the tag division can be. Naito's more direct though. He's like, we've made up our minds. The challenge is true. The champions can name their time and place. We're going to take the titles. So there it is. That's the next one for the IWGP tag titles. they set all those up pretty quickly. I mean, yeah, just those are really the two opening matches of this rather short Dominion card, and we've set up 3 future championship matches already. Speaking of championship matches, though, we had El Desperado defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against Yo. And I'll just be honest off the bat, I know they've been building this for a while. It was supposed to come much earlier. Actually, was it supposed to be on Dontaku? I think it was supposed to be on Dontaku. But even with all that extra time to build this matchup, I still just don't have any interest in Yo. I don't see him winning. I don't see why he would win. I just couldn't really get invested in this match, which is a shame because it seemed like a pretty good one. I mean, there was Despy, obviously, he's a bad guy. He did a little distraction spot so he could, for the referee, because his referees are just stupid. So he hit Yo with a chair on his repaired knee. And that seemed to be a bit of a... I mean, that was the story of the match, of course, from Despy's end. But then Yo attacked the knee of Despy as well. And Yo's selling actually seemed to be pretty good throughout this match. There was like one example being he was going for a suicide senton, a jump over the top rope to the outside, and he was limping. It was noticeable. I mean, that's one of the things that gets a lot of people when they're selling it when they're on the ground. They're selling it when it's convenient, but then when they need to pull off a move, especially a running move, all of a sudden they've forgotten that they're injured. So I appreciated that Yo still kind of limped his way to the ropes, and he still nailed the leap. So good on him there. He did have Despy in trouble as well with the Stargazer, but that didn't work. He went for a dragon suplex. That got a close 2 count. He goes for the direct drive, which is his new finish, but that's blocked. And then a Pinche Loco's blocked. And then there's a straight right hand from Despy. That knocks Yo down. The Pinche Loco does land at the second attempt, and that ends the contest. Yeah, sorry. I'm not into Yo, so I'm sure there's a lot of people that would think that match was really good, but it's about the characters. You need to care about who's fighting in order to really get into a match. But right after this one, ELP and Ishimori stop any celebrations from happening by coming to the ring. Sho has already come down to tend to the loser, his tag partner Yo, but the Bullet Club guys aren't interested in attacking anyone at this point. They just want to make their challenge clear for Sho and Yo. They're going after the junior tag titles. And then it's ELP talking, and he's about to then address Desperado. But Ishimori takes the mic from him, and he says that Yo jumped the line, he was patient, but now he's coming for the title. So Ishimori kind of stands up for himself. For a while, he's really just, almost ELP's handbag there for a while. But he puffed his chest out this time. He made it clear that, no, it's not ELP, it's him. He's next in line. He's getting the next shot. So Despy accepts... Well, he doesn't make it clear that he accepts the challenge, but it seems like he's not against the idea. He just wants to make sure that the sound team play his music. He's like, don't go playing Bullet Club music. I still won this match. I don't care who's out here now. Play my music. So, all about the important stuff. The champion, Desperado. After the match, Yo, he said he gave it everything and still lost, but he'll use that to help him grow. And his next focus, of course, is this tag defense. Sho chimes in as well, just to say that they will successfully defend. ELP and Ishimori walk in with Zimas. ELP says it's because they're celebrating the fact that they are about to become champions for the 3rd time. And then Ishimori hold on, just let me fix up my writing here. He says he'll win the tag titles and the single title too. And ELP, he wasn't real happy with it in the ring, but he kind of came to accept it, and he's seemingly accepting of Ishimori taking the shot before him backstage as well. And Ishimori talks a bit more trash, says that those guys, when they hold the titles, Yo and Sho, they're nothing but props. So he and ELP will bring some prestige back to them. And then after they're gone, finally the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion enters Desperado. He's got the full table and Zima press conference treatment. He complains of some soreness. He starts talking about the next match. He's like, it's a great match, Ibushi and Cobb, but then is like, well, but I am fighting for a title. I should be, like, my match should have been at least second last. So he wasn't happy about that, but that is the next match, and it is a semi-main event. Jeff Cobb versus Kota Ibushi. Cobb overpowers Ibushi early and is happy to use the elements around the ring to do show. Oh, jeez. To do show? To do yo? I'll have another sip, that'll help. So, yeah, look, he's happy to use the elements around the ring to do so, to overpower Ibushi. And then he continues that in the ring, Ibushi doing a lot of selling, but then he starts resisting in a certain way. The murder Ibushi, as Cobb called it in some post-match comments not long ago. He asked for this. He asked for murder Ibushi, and here he is, pretty early on too in this match, but he flings Ibushi around some more. He does an F5, so he's got him up fireman's carry, and he flings him, and Ibushi must have spun like 2.5 times. It was crazy how he sent him through the air. But he gets out of a tour of the islands, and the Kamigoye lands soon thereafter, but Cobb kicks out of it, so Ibushi pulls down the knee pad, and he goes for it again, but it's dodged, and Cobb nearly hits the Kobagoye, but Ibushi leaps in, or he leaps up to avoid it, and then Cobb throws him back down, and he does hit it. He does hit the Kobagoye, but his cover's really slow, so it only earns him a 2 count. Cobb's taken some damage to his leg, so he's kind of hobbling around a bit, and that seems to fail him when he tries to lift Ibushi up next. And then it looks kind of like a botch, it wasn't clear exactly what happened, but it looked like Ibushi, when Cobb lifted him up, he hit him with a knee, like a flying knee, or just kind of a dropping knee or something, but it was enough to put Cobb down, and then he pulls him in for the Kamigoye to win the match on that second Kamigoye with the knee pad pulled down. And afterwards, Ibushi said he learned a lot from facing Cobb despite them being the same age. He wants to fight Cobb more often and says, well, maybe next time I fight him, it'll be for the belt. That belt being the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, which, at this time, is vacant, to be contested for by Shingo Takagi and Kazuchika Okada. It was a pretty typical match in the opening stages. It was evenly matched. They kind of went through the same sort of stuff that you'd expect. Just kind of a pro wrestling match. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but nothing particularly original. There's a senton from Okada that's countered with the knees up from Shingo, and Okada sells his back heavily. Of course, he's been out with I believe a lower back injury for a while now. I mean, that's what's been taped up in previous sightings of Okada in the ring. But Shingo doesn't really target the back so much as if it's there, he'll take it. But he's not aggressively going after the back. There's the money clip gets latched on, and Shingo's right by the ropes for the first one. He quickly forces the break. Okada goes for the elbow drop, but instead Shingo rises and collects him with the lariat. The money clip does go on a bit later. This time Shingo's caught in it for much longer in the center of the ring. And after crawling his way out, Shingo punishes Okada back with Made in Japan on the outside. And if that wasn't bad enough, there's a DVD off the top turnbuckle next. Shingo attempts the Last of the Dragon, but it's unsuccessful. It's at around the 30-minute mark that Okada hits his signature dropkick, and that's followed by the Tombstone. He goes for the Rainmaker next, but Shingo's first to the punch. He hits Okada with a lariat instead. After Okada's doing the ripcord out, and when they come back together, bang, Shingo hits first. So Okada goes for it again later. He hits the Rainmaker twice in a row, but without the wind-up, just kind of the standing lariat, like the pull-in lariats, but not the behind-the-back ripcord style full Rainmaker, if you know what I mean. So he goes for the full version, but once again Shingo connects first. And then he lines up a pumping bomber, and that connects. He pins him, 2 count for Shingo. There's a dragon suplex followed by a sliding forearm, and that has Okada broken. So Shingo picks him up, Last of the Dragon, hits it, finishes Okada, pins him, and the crowd, of course, they're not supposed to make any noise with their mouths. They're supposed to just clap, but they can't help it. They pop. Shingo Takagi beats Okada again. The first time, of course, this year in the New Japan Cup. Shingo beats him again, this time for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Shingo Takagi is the 3rd IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And he acknowledges this on the mic. "It's not a dream, this is real," Shingo says. This is not the end goal, though. He's just getting started. There's plenty left to do at the top of pro wrestling. But first he needs his belt adjusted. It's too loose, and he commands Tsuji to tighten it. But it was already very noticeable that there was a lot of the tail of the belt off. Like Shingo told the referee right from the start, "Hey, put it around my waist," which I like. I like the champions wearing the title belt. But yeah, there was a lot of the strap off. So this came up on Reddit as well, and I made the comment that it was funny that Ibushi was the one to introduce this belt when he's got such a slim waist, and it's clear this belt was made for people with a rather larger waist, because even, I would think that Shingo's a bit thicker than Ibushi. I mean, they're probably a bit similar, but yeah, they can barely fit it on him at all. Just seems a bit strange. But anyway, Shingo calls out Ibushi. He says, he beats Ibushi to the punch. He says, "I want Ibushi to be next." He says that when Ibushi was champion, he didn't give Shingo the time of day. So look at the circumstances now. Very different. He wants to beat Ibushi. Of course, Ibushi comes out. He accepts the challenge. And then backstage, Shingo says, well, first of his opponent tonight. He tries to act tough, but Okada had him nervous. He knows that his achievements don't compare to Okada's. But if he had a loss today, he would never have been able to reach the likes of Okada and Tanahashi and Naito and Ibushi, he names as well. He says Ibushi's part of his generation, and he's watched him run ahead of him for so long, but now he gets to face him as an equal. And he's got a message for Ospreay as well. He says, hurry back, they can fight anytime too, and he won't feel like the true champion until he beats Ospreay as well. And then Shingo kind of looks around. I mean, this is backstage. Of course, he's got the table, he's got the Zimas, it's the whole champion treatment. But Los Ingobernables de Japón are not there to celebrate with him. And he says, it's a bit lonely here, isn't it? Where's everyone else? He knows that it bugged Naito and Sonata in particular to see him win this title before him. But, wait, what? It bugged Shingo and Naito, Shingo says that it bugged Sanada and Naito to see him win the title before them. But, yeah, they've been building up this little thing of, the rest of LIJ being a bit jealous and not too, I don't know, not as if they're not friendly, but, and LIJ's always been a group of individuals, but yeah, I mean, there's something going on there. So Shingo celebrates on his own with a swig of Zima. He says that's his first drink in 2 months. So he's obviously been training hard. And that's actually something Okada brings up when he comes in. It looks like he's had a shower and had some time to think about things. And one of the things that Okada mentions is the difference between them was likely the difference in terms of their recent activity, that Shingo's been fighting these big high-profile matches while Okada's really not been at all. He's been in some tags. He had he had the Yujiro feud and the Evil feud. I mean, it's a different level to what Shingo's been fighting at. So Okada says, yeah, that's probably a significant factor here, but Shingo's a deserving champion, and he's very graceful and gracious about the whole thing. It says it's a reminder that it's not so easy to reach the top in New Japan. And questions himself a little bit as well. Has he still got it? Is he still capable of this? But, yeah, I mean, they had a good match. It wasn't an Okada classic. Not for mine, anyway. I mean, Shingo's had a bunch of great matches. I would say Shingo's match with Cobb was better, which is kind of that was a really good match, don't get me wrong. But when Shingo can get a better match out of Cobb than with Okada in there, it's kind of telling of something. I don't know. Maybe Okada's story arc is beginning all over again. I mean, he came back at Wrestle Kingdom way back when in that kind of nothing match with Yoshihashi, and then all of a sudden beat Tanahashi and turned things around, and it was the rest is history. But the history we're about to go over, if you're to follow my series. Yeah, so it's I tell you what, and I know I've said this before recently, but the top of the card in New Japan a year or two ago did feel quite stagnant, and now we've had 3 first-time champions in a row. Now that in itself is actually a little bit concerning in a different way, just because they've all had quite short runs, and that isn't the way one would think is the best way to build up a new championship. But I suspect Ospreay would have beaten Okada, because Okada beat him at Wrestle Kingdom, so it makes sense to me that Ospreay would have defended against Okada. And then maybe what would have happened was that they could do the third match, the tiebreaker at Wrestle Kingdom. Ospreay Okada might have been the main event, if Ospreay could hold it that long. I don't know, but I kind of feel like instead of changing all the plans, they've just slotted Shingo in there in Ospreay's role. So we'll see. We will see. I think it sets up some interesting matches, in particular Tanahashi, because of course Tanahashi beat Shingo for the Never title, and I would suspect Shingo would want that win back. So it's a way to give Tanahashi something to do. Shingo against White is more interesting than than White against Ospreay, but of course he's got the Never title now, and who knows exactly what's going on there. Of course, the next match is Ibushi. That should be great. Ibushi versus Shingo. I don't want Ibushi to take the title back. that doesn't really seem to make sense. No one really seemed too on board with Ibushi's first run, and he hasn't really done that much since. I know they're pushing Cobb. They are pushing Cobb very hard, but he beat Cobb to get a shot. I mean, I don't know. I think it should be a really good match. I do not want to see another title change. Yeah, they held a press conference the next day, by the way, just to announce the matches of upcoming, the Kazuna Road matches. The 22nd of June, we'll see the trios titles defended against, we already had this one set up, Evil, Togo, and Yujiro. I don't see why Evil, Togo, and Yujiro should beat Goto, Ishii, and Yoshi. I mean, I don't really care about that title, but I think this is probably the strongest that title's been, at least in a while. I guess it's the strongest in terms of, I believe they broke the record. I think the current champions are the longest reigning, or at least have the most defenses in a row. So there's that. And then the next night on the 23rd of June, that's when the junior tag titles will be defended. El Phantasmo and Ishimori taking on Yo and Sho, Roppongi 3K. And then that was Suga Bayashi announcing that, the president, and then Shingo entered and said some stuff, but nothing of particular note. All the stuff you'd expect him to say, speaking about his about the match that he just went through, his future opponent, his future in general, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's the latest. That's what's coming up. That's what happened. The latest in New Japan. I wish they weren't doing as many shows as they are. This is something to do. They're the kind of company that makes money off their gates and off their merch. I suppose they don't really have like a big TV money deal or anything that they're, or pay-per-views or anything like that. So I guess they kind of have to just keep doing events, but it's just not that interesting to follow. And I mean, you can tell because I didn't want to just go result for result through this podcast. It just didn't seem like it was a good use of time, a good use of your time to be listening to this. But I suspect we've got more of that to come. That tag title match is interesting. I like the dynamic. Of course, Sonata and Zack Sabre Jr. are rivals, classic rivals in that very technical submission mat-based style. And Taichi and Naito are kind of similar too, in that they're very funny characters. They're fun to watch in the ring. They could definitely have a good match together. And they break up the, Zack's style and Sonata's style. It's not always the most exciting for mine anyway. So the fact that they're in there to break it up a bit, I think that could be a really fun match. And build too, because Naito and actually 3 out of 4 of them, Sonata doesn't say much, but the rest of them are pretty good promos. They're interesting promos, so that should be fun for whenever they do that. And then, of course, at some point soon, in the not too distant future, we should have the G1 to be looking forward to as well. So when that starts, I won't be doing a lot of historical stuff, but that's what I'm focusing on more at the moment. So 2008 will start up soon. I've got to do a strong show as well. I just caught up tonight on the strong shows. So we've got May and half of June. I've got to catch up on those. There's some stuff happening there. But I think that'll about wrap it up for this one. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it wasn't too brutal to listen to. But yeah, that's my thoughts on what's going on currently. I hope you join me for future thoughts. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.